discussing the latest Russian drones breaching Polish airspace overnight during a coordinated assault on Ukraine. Now, NATO aircraft helped intercept them, leading Warsaw to invoke Article 4 of NATO's charter and call urgent consultations with its allies. Joining me now to break down the details of this breach, the international response they're triggering from Warsaw's allies, and what it could mean for regional security, I'm joined by Mark Toth, the U.S. National Security and Foreign Policy Analyst. Mark, thanks so much for being with us here at such a crucial day. Mark, let me get straight into it. President Trump and President Nawrocki have just recently ended a phone call, and I just want to quote to you what President Nawrocki posted on his social media X. He said, "I just spoke by phone with U.S. President Donald Trump about the multiple violations of Polish airspace by Russian drones that occurred tonight. The conversation is part of a series of consultations I've been conducting with our allies. Today's talks reaffirmed our unity." Please, your comments on what Nawrocki wrote.
Diana, thank you for having me on. Yeah, basically, I think all of us realize that this was a message from Putin in many ways directly to Donald Trump. Just last week, your president was sitting in the White House with Donald Trump saying, look, if Poland wants more troops to be stationed throughout your country, we're willing to do that. And I think that was messaging to Putin, and Putin got that message. And so in part, although there are a lot more angles to this than just this one, but in part, Putin's messaging last night was, look, I saw you in the White House. I saw what you're trying to do with Donald Trump, and this is my objection to it. Now, Poland to date, and which is great, has basically said, we're not going to be intimidated by this. It's just going to make us reaffirm our commitment to both support Ukraine, but also to push back against Russian aggression anywhere in Eastern Europe, including the Baltic states and Poland.
Mark, I mean, this escalation also, I mean, aside from Putin, you're saying, sending a message, right, to Donald Trump and the United States. However, this does come just 2 days before large military drills, right, between Russia and Belarus. And of course, of Poland saying that they're going to close the border with Belarus ahead of those Zapad military drills. Do you think that that may have prompted this provocation, or do you not see it that way?
Right. No, it has in part. There are a lot of moving parts here, Diana, in terms of what's fueling this and why it happened last night. Part of it was, as I wrote with my colleague, Colonel John Sweet, in the Hill today in Washington, D.C., was, look, Putin was emboldened by his meetings in Shanghai when he was there to meet with President Xi and Kim Jong-un. And that's partly why. I think it gave him the leeway, the leash, if you will, from Beijing to go ahead and do this. The other part of it, which was what we just talked about, was pushing back against your president's visit to the White House. And another component of it right now is these upcoming Zapad military exercises that are scheduled to occur in Belarus. And it's notable, as your Prime Minister, Donald Tusk, pointed out, that for the first time, these drones came through Belarusian airspace in terms of reaching into Poland. And that's significant, too, because I think what Putin is trying to accomplish here is messaging on a global scale, but there's also a training component to this. If they can incorporate lessons learned, this was what you would call, in classical military terms, a probing operation. It basically triggered NATO's response. They wanted to measure that, track it, learn from it, and then obviously incorporate that into the training that is going to be happening between September 12th and 16th in Belarus as part of these Zapad exercises.
Let me ask you this. I mean, you're talking, of course, about the NATO Article 4 that was triggered. How prepared do you think Poland was to handle a scenario like this? I mean, let me play devil's advocate here, and let's say it's 1,000 drones that were launched and not a couple of dozen or 19, right? Where does Poland stand in terms of readiness?
Right. It's a hard question to answer right now. I think you always want to be more ready than you are and never get comfortable with where you're at. At this point, we just don't have enough data to know what the success rate was. We know that 3 to 4 were basically interdicted, shot down. It appears that a Dutch F-35 shot down a couple of those. But what we don't know is if the calculus was made yet that, look, certain drones were just going to fall in areas that they weren't going to cause any harm, and therefore it wasn't worth the expense of expending a missile, keep that in reserve in case there is a wider, broader Russian attack in the future, rather than just simply blowing up a drone to blow it up. So right now the jury is still out. But I think what it should be, the takeaway, in my opinion, to your devil's advocate question is, what if it's 1,000 drones in the future? In my opinion, Poland is probably not yet ready for that. It needs to be. I think this is something that they need to be looking at on the scale that what Israel's had to face in terms of Iran attacking it with ballistic missiles and drones and taking this as a warning sign. And I don't mean that critically of Poland. Poland's done a ton in terms of getting ready, but I think now this is just a clarion call to do more and to do it quickly.
How would you say that the government has adapted its defense measures also in this case?
Right. I think good. Look, I think you've got to get a lot of credit to your foreign minister. Zikorsky. I mean, he made it clear when they were closing the border with Belarus several days ago that Poland needed to be taking the threats emanating from Moscow seriously. And sure enough, just 2 days later, that's happening. So his decision was wise. And I think if you talk to any U.S. Army commander that's been in charge ultimately, if Russia were to invade Poland and the rest of Western Europe, the thing they worry most about is what you were just reporting on the top of your newscast, which is the Suwalki Gap, that narrow strip that divides Poland from the Baltic states. So far, in terms of closing that border, I think they've done well. And your Eastern Shield that you're developing, all of these things have been good. Your investments in technology and in terms of doing that. But now I think it's got to be more. It's got to be that this kinetic threat is around the corner. And do you have adequate military resources, of adequate military training to deter something? I think you do. I think you've got a good start of it.
Right, and speaking of that, I do want to ask you, how do you think that the international reactions and response has been to this in terms of supporting Poland and helping Poland?
You know, from a European perspective, so far, so good. I mean, we're hearing the right things, but we're still talking about this in terms of being a provocation. I view it as an intentional attack. And from the U.S. perspective, I don't think we've heard enough yet from Donald Trump. Basically, he said, oh, look, you know, Poland's being attacked. Here we go. But here we go is not a red line. Here we go is not a firm statement to Putin that, look, now you've crossed this line and there's going to be game changers. I think for Poland to ultimately protect yourselves, you're going to have to start interdicting these missiles in Ukrainian airspace, not waiting for them to reach your territory. And that's going to cause a big change. And I think that's what you need to be seeing out of Europe most, is recognizing that there has to be some kind of Western air shield covering Ukraine so that it also covers you.
Mark, do you think that, though, you know, I mean, Donald Trump has been a little bit unpredictable with the way he's reacted to Putin and, you know, and on the war in Ukraine. Do you think that this might, quote unquote, wake him up and kind of trigger a further response?
I hope it does. It needs to, because, look, it's clear that Putin is taunting him. Alaska meant nothing to Putin other than a green light to continue attacking Ukrainian civilians and doing more.
And a red carpet welcome, right?
Right, on a red carpet welcome. And just another red carpet welcome, as you point out, Diana, in Shanghai, too. And it's just emboldening him. He's basically saying, I can push the envelope more, and he's doing so. And if we don't do it, he's going to keep doing it. So I think there has to be a strong, robust response. NATO cannot just respond with words to say, look, it's all good to say you're going to defend every square inch of NATO, but you've got to start pushing back in a way that actually punches Putin in the mouth, and you can do that over the skies of Ukraine.
Mark, and really just under 1 minute, and when do you think NATO will respond? What kind of response can we expect?
I hope it's quickly. The Article 4 invocation was an important first step. And I think Poland has got to take the lead now in saying, look, this is what we need. This is what we demand. We're on the front lines here. And so it has to happen immediately. The sense of urgency is now, not a week from now, not a month from now, not a year from now.
Thank you so much, Mark Toth, the U.S. National Security and Foreign Policy Analyst. This is definitely a developing story. And thank you so much for your input here with us on TVP World this evening.
Thank you, Diana, and my thoughts to the people of Poland. Thank you.
And that's all for this edition of World News Tonight here on TVP World. My name is Diana Skaya. Thanks for watching, but don't go away, as we will keep you updated around the clock on the latest unfolding developments on our borders. Stay tuned.